January 8th, 2025, year of our Lord. I hope everybody is having a great evening.
Using free speech to free minds.
So, hey everybody, good morning, good evening, whenever you're going to watch this video. I hope everybody is healthy, prosperous, and exercising their rights. I say it all the time, rights are like muscles, and if you don't use them, you lose them, right? Just like if you don't take care of your teeth or anything else, right? And that goes with your savings, right? That goes with everything in your life, right? If you don't nurture your relationships, right, they all die. And so, first, I want to start off by saying happy birthday to Elvis, right? Elvis would have been 90 today. I remember when people used to say, like they would say, I spotted Elvis. That's sort of left. That was like an old saying, kind of like joking around about it. But the first story that I would like to start with is inflation is back on the rise. Okay, this is the fourth straight CPI to come out hotter than expected. Now, mind you, the numbers that the government puts out are fraudulent. Okay, because they don't count inflation the way they did like back when Reagan was president, okay? They don't count the job numbers the way they did when Reagan was president. And there's a reason for that, okay? A lot of these changes happened during the Clinton administration, okay? And ever since the Clinton administration, they've been tweaked and tweaked and tweaked a little more, okay, to make the politicians look better. Now, if you've watched any of my programs, you know that I do not, hey Amy, hey Julie, welcome. You guys know I do not give government credit for the jobs that we work at and that we create, okay? So, inflation came out 2.9%, okay? Now, does everybody remember when they said inflation is transitory, right? Who did they blame? Okay? They were blaming the greedy businessman, right? The greedy businesswoman, right? Then they said it was about consumer feelings, right? Oh, because people feel inflation, then we have inflation, right? Tonight, I'm going to dive into inflation and more. But first, I want to answer some of the basic inflation questions because the media and government have lied to the American people about inflation, economics, and so many other things. Okay? So, there's a few basic questions that we need asked and answered. Okay? So, first, what causes inflation? Well, inflation is caused, okay, by the increase of the money supply, okay? So when the government is bailing out banks, printing money to bail out multinational corporations, right? When the government is monetizing the debt, okay, they have to increase the money supply. Okay? Now, what's the number one thing that America exports? Okay? It's not cars, right? It's not internet stuff, okay? The number one thing that we export is actually inflation, okay? We literally surround the globe in dollars, okay? And hope that the rest of the world uses them. Now, where does inflation come from? Okay? Well, inflation comes from the central banks. Okay? The Federal Reserve, right? That's where it comes from. Now, did we yes, that's right, Raymond. rate, we create inflation to pay for our military, right? We can't afford our military, right? We can't afford Social Security. Where does the money come from, right? I always say it's laughable every time a president names a Treasury Secretary, right? Because we don't have a Treasury, right? There is no treasure. It's all paper. It's all IOUs, right? So inflation comes only from the central bank and government, okay? And they're the ones that are killing the dollar, okay? Not you working, not somebody creating a job, right? It's not the nurses, it's not the mechanics, right? It's not the mean restaurants, right? No, it's not them. It comes straight from the government and Federal Reserve. Why does the government blame everyone else, right? Now, and this started with Carter, right? When Jimmy Carter came under high inflation, his administration came up with attacking the small businessman, right? And so, let me see here. Wait, wish the government would also understand that the more you have something, the less it's worth. That's right, Ken. You're 100% right. The dollar is only worth based on faith, right? That's the whole thing about the dollar, right? There is nothing to it, right? Now, before the Federal Reserve was created, and this is the important part that you need to understand, the dollars, they're notes, okay? Every dollar is a note, and that note was redeemable by gold, okay? So when you went down to your bank, okay, they have something called a vault, and that vault held treasure, right? It held gold. And every bank had to hold a certain amount of gold to satisfy the loans that they made, right? The accounts that were in there, right? It was called sound money. Now, why is it called sound money? Okay? Because when you take gold and drop it, it makes a sound, right? If you drop paper, there is no sound. Okay, so that's just like a little thing to add in there. Now, to answer the question, why does government blame everyone else? Okay? Because they know if the government took responsibility for the inflation that they created, or the Federal Reserve, right? People would be in the street with pitchforks, right? So it's very easy for politicians like Obama or Trump or Biden to point the finger at everyone else, right? Where inflation comes from, right? They blame at each other. It's funny when presidents blame each other, right? When both people spent literally almost exactly the same amount of money, right? Had the same amount of debt, almost exact, right? Biden barely smudged out more than Trump. But, I mean, we're talking, and then if you look at Obama, right? Trump spent in one term what Obama almost spent in two. Then Biden spent almost the exact same amount as Trump, just barely more. And it's funny when, one side pins against the other, but they all literally spent the same amount. Thank you, Amy and Julie. I really appreciate you guys for saying that. You guys are real. What sweet. I mean, what sweet people we have. So let me ask you this. What can we do to prevent inflation? Well, one thing the government can do is cut government spending, right? Because government spending is a tax, okay? So either the government can tax you honestly and say, hey, we want to spend more on the military. We want to give Israel more money, right? We want to pay for Social Security. Hey, we need to tax you more, right? But that's not what the government does, right? Think about all the increases that Social Security got, but there were no tax increases. Actually, taxes went down, right? Why? Right? Because politicians are too afraid, okay, to tax you honestly. Because if they taxed you what the bill actually cost, right, we would be taxed to death. Now, that's the irony of the whole thing. Because of what they're doing, they're creating massive inflation and causing massive poverty as a result. Yeah, that's right. Well, Ken, here's the thing. The only way they can stop printing money is a few ways. One way is other countries can buy our debt, right? Which would help from printing. But the problem is when you have $36 trillion in debt and going north to 50, Trump's going to pass 50. There's no way, right? Countries are saying, hey, I'm not going to buy your debt. You're never going to pay me back, right? Because here's the thing. Just like Social Security is an IOU, right? You're investing today in, well, actually you're being robbed, right? It's not a choice. But technically, you're investing today to receive a check tomorrow, right? But what good is that check if it don't buy anything, right? Well, our foreign investors who buy our bonds and our treasuries, they're asking the same question. Hey, yeah, you guys can just print up some money and pay us, right? But what can we buy with those dollars, right? So what we need to do, we need to drastically shrink government, right? We need to tell a lot of Americans, hey, look, the government lied to you, right? We're broke, okay? We're going to take care of our most needy people, right? And we got to kick the wealthy off of all the welfare programs. We need to kick the illegals off the welfare programs, right? And we need to focus. If we're going to help people, right, it's got to be the absolute most needy citizens, right? It can't be wealthy yuppies, okay, with 2 or 3 $60,000 cars in the driveway with multiple homes paying the bar tab, right? They don't get Social Security, I'm sorry, right? The people who should get Social Security or some sort of assistance really needs to be focused on the people that it was meant for, which is the downtrodden, the people who are hurting the most. Yeah, Trump, you're right, Ray. Trump is not going to cut Social Security. As a matter of fact, he campaigned on saving it and strengthening it, whatever that means, right? Because to save a Ponzi scheme, how do you do that? The only way to save a Ponzi scheme is to find more suckers to invest in it. Yeah, well, that would be fine. Privatizing Social Security, first off, you'd have to start at a young age, right? So we got to kick people 30 years and younger from being forced into paying for Social Security, right? And then what we need to do is teach these young Americans how to invest, right? I mean, they go to school in these public filth education centers. I don't even want to call them education centers. They're brainwashing centers. And they don't learn anything, right? It's nothing but learning how to get through the day, right? We're doing as little as possible, right? It is absolutely ridiculous that we don't teach these kids how to, look for a job, how to fill out an application, how to pay their taxes, anything real about the Constitution, anything about the Federal Reserve, right? We have dumbed down entire generations of people now, right? So this is why we keep electing the same people, right? Because people are uneducated when it comes to finance, inflation, how to build a career, right? How to start a company, right? How to address people, right? I was talking the other day how I went into a government building for some building permits or whatever, and they were dressed like slobs in there, right? I mean, you would think that these people were at home, right? Now, these are college-educated people, right? And I could bet you not only do they know the first thing about construction, but they also don't know the first thing about any of the stuff that we're talking about, right? Because they're completely clueless, they're completely mindless, they're on CNN, Fox News, you know, being brainwashed by a whole bunch of gaggle of people on X. You know, this is where people are. A life skills class would do wonders for kids growing up. And Ken, you know, we had life skills growing up. You know, we had automotive class where neighbors would donate cars to the school. And we would work on old classic cars. And then we would build mini houses from scratch. And then we did home economics, right? So, you know, my generation had a whole host of separate classes that taught us a lot of this stuff, right? And back then, right, history was actual American history, right? It was actual economics. Today it's like new math bullshit. But, you know, getting back to what can prevent inflation, right? So we all agree, cutting government, figuring out ways to, you know, lower government spending, right? But again, you need money to have value, right? You need money to be sound, right? Just to kind of educate everybody on something, during the entire 1800s, and this includes the Civil War, okay? During the entire 1800s, you know, prices went down, okay? We created the Gilded Age. We created the Industrial Revolution, right? If your great-grandparents or grandparents, like mine, floated to Ellis Island, didn't know any English, right? They didn't have a corporate tax, income tax, Social Security tax, no business licenses, right? They were able to come off the boat and start a job, right? And there was so much production as a result that it brought down prices. Plus, our money was backed by real treasure, right? Backed by gold. And ever since we left the gold standard, right? Ever since the government has created the Federal Reserve, right? We've lost now better than 99% of our purchasing power, okay? So from 1913 to today, we've lost over 99% of our value, okay? Purchasing power. Now, if you go from Nixon to now, we've lost 87% of that. Now, if you go from Trump to now, okay, we're now better than 35%. Look at how quick and rapidly inflation is growing, okay? And they're blaming you, okay? They're blaming you. You know, you're the greedy person, you know, you're the problem, you know, and they push it off on everyone else, even other presidents and even other Congresses. My favorite thing, I was in a chat today, and really, some of it's mind-numbing, to be honest with you. Because when Obama spent money, right, it was Obama spending money. When Trump spends money, it was Congress. But then when Biden spent money, it was Biden, right? You see how that all works? So, you know, again, it's like you're not being honest with yourself, right? Presidents have pens for a reason, okay? And because we have destroyed the dollar, right? Because we've destroyed the free market system, okay, I'm going to get more into the free market system being destroyed. We've destroying opportunities. That leads me right into my second story. Jobs come in weaker than expected. The street was looking for 136 jobs, but we actually came in with 122,000 jobs. Now, we know, if you're paying attention to the job numbers over the past 18 months, okay, that every single jobs number that's come in has been revised negative, right? So that means if they're saying we got 122,000 jobs, we probably only got half that in reality, right? But nobody ever talks about the reality one. They only lead with this number. So let me see here. Let me just go over some of the comments. People being a victim, they can't hold government accountable. It's as a result of government run wild like feral children. My mom's saying, you think money comes out of thin air? According to government, yes, it does. Yeah, well, my grandfather used to say, hey, we think money comes from trees? Well, apparently it does. As long as there's someone to blame, they always use it as an excuse, a crutch. That's right. I mean, you guys are right on it. And, you know, look, as a result, right, we're destroying opportunity, right? We're destroying our kids' future, right? I mean, we're seeing people, okay, this is a weak economy. Okay, a strong economy, right? You can buy a bed, right? Because you saved your money, right? And you bought the bed with cash, okay? I never thought in my life we get to a point where people take out a loan to buy a bed, right? Or, you know, now car loans. Okay, I can remember when a car loan was, you know, a couple of years, okay? 3 years. Now, car loans are 7 years, for God's sake, you know? And that's an old car, okay? That's a car with near 100,000 miles. That's right, Amy. Government knows how to lie, and they really don't know how to tell the truth. And here's the sad part. There are a few people who tell the truth, like Thomas Massey, Rand Paul. You know, we have just a few people, and I implore everybody to follow those people. Because when it comes to economics, those two really are incredible in telling the truth in government. But you know why they're not afraid to tell the truth? Because they don't vote for the increases, right? They stood up when COVID happened, right? They stood up when, you know, some disaster would come along and there'd be all this welfare to be helicoptered in. Those two are the real deal, and I definitely implore people to watch those two people. But, I mean, honestly, 70% of the Republicans are rhinos now. And to see conservatives, you know, like, calling, what was that? Like, other Republicans rhinos, right? Oh, we don't like rhinos. We don't like rhinos. But then you support Mike Johnson, the king of the rhinos. He is like, Mike Johnson is literally the leader of the Rhino Party, okay? What was the first thing Mike Johnson did after Trump got elected? The first thing, right? This was a referendum, I thought. I thought this was about American jobs. I thought this was about cutting government, right? Where's Doge, right? Where are they, right? Well, what did Mike Johnson do? He increased spending. That's what he did. He grew government, got the printing presses up hotter, tried to borrow more money, right? Is that what we voted for? And look, I've been in chats talking about this, and so many people have messaged me, oh, I'm so happy Mike Johnson won the vote, you know, like they were all on the edge of their seats. And I says, well, what do you like about Mike Johnson? Is it his Ukraine spending? His support for Ukraine? Is it a blank check to Biden, right? Or how about he's going to lift the debt ceiling on Trump for 2 years? Tell me, what do you like about this creep? Having a sick patient, 8 years old, caring for her, I felt bad. Got her a free bed she couldn't afford. God bless you, Amy. You know, it's little things like that that we need to pass on to other people. I mean, that's beautiful that you did that. And again, why can't they afford a bed, right? Why are people taking out loans for a bed, right? Or for other things, right, that are ridiculous to take a loan out, like a computer, right? There are people taking out loans for computers and tools and all sorts of things, right? This stuff should be dirt cheap, right? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because they've destroyed the dollar, they've destroyed the opportunities, right? And that's why, okay, we no longer make consumer electronics in this country, right? 90%, we created consumer electronics. 90% we import, right? What about furniture, right? 75% of furniture we import, right? Can't we make furniture, right? This is the strongest economy ever. That's what they keep telling us. Joe said it. Trump says it. Obama said it, right? But yet we can't make furniture? What about toys, right? 95% of toys, right? Again, all of this is related, right? We have destroyed the economic capacity, right? Because also, in order to build toys and compete with other nations, right? Government forces businesses to pay for things like sick leave, the corporate tax, Social Security taxes, the income tax, Medicare tax, Medicaid taxes, Obamacare taxes, gas taxes, unemployment taxes. I even got a message the other day about a friend of mine having to pay the freaking death tax, okay? And it is completely ridiculous that your relatives busted their ass to make a living, put their money away, they did everything by the book, and here comes the government to tax it one more time, And all the taxes I mentioned are not all the federal taxes, that's just a few, okay? And that doesn't count your local, state, or county taxes, okay? That's just federal, okay? So if anybody's wondering why we can't make shoes in this country or toys or furniture, right? It's because of all of these taxes, right? All of the ridiculous licensing and insurances that we have. I mean, I have a good buddy of mine who had a very successful drywall business, very successful, and he got killed by insurance. The insurance to insure his business, okay, destroyed his business, okay? And that's not the way it should be. Hey, if you want to go out and hang drywall, or, you want to do automotive work, or you want to work in a factory, or you want to be a nurse, okay? Or maybe you want to start your own practice, right? You should not have to ask the government for permission, number one. Number two, the government should not be in both pockets with both hands, literally fondling you to get every nickel it can, okay? So we need to let the perverts in DC understand that we're the boss and that we're tired of it, and to let these rhino pricks know exactly what they are. They're pricks. They need to be educated again because they're wrong. They are about to get the ass kicking of their life when it comes to inflation, jobs, shipping seas, shipping jobs overseas. Well, Ken, actually, it was only a 2% tax, but you're halfway right, and you're 100% right on your premise, right? Look, King George, okay? Actually, you know what it was, Ken? It's funny that you said that. So King George, and this is good history because it's important, and you're right, had a 4% tax on the British citizenry that lived in Britain, okay? When it came to the Americans, okay, he put a 2% tax, and that's where the 4 comes in. And the American people back then, I mean, you got to understand, by age 18, okay, these people already had children, they already had jobs, they were already full-fledged adults, okay? A lot of the founders were like 22 and younger, okay? And these were brilliant people, okay, who did not want to be ruled by a king. And so they fought the British Empire, right? And we have to understand something. What happened to the Roman Empire and the British Empire is very similar to what's happening to us, right? Look at Trump. Talking about taking over all these other places. You know when a country does that, right? We're talking about Greenland and Canada and all this other stuff. When your country's ready to fail, right? Because what you want to do is you want to rape and pillage for anything you can get, right? Out of those places to try and prop up your failed country, okay? So, and I'm going to get into that story because that's actually my next story. But the founders created government to protect our rights, not steal from you to give to some other sap sitting on the couch. Let me share a story with everybody. I have a liberal friend, a Democrat, who comes on my page, and we're good. We are actually good friends. I've met the guy. He's a great guy. I'm not going to say who he is. And I wish he would come on and have a rational debate with me. I'd love to have him on for a debate. But he, in the conversation, says to me that his brother is on disability. And I says, wow, what's wrong with your brother? First, because I was talking about how disability is a scam. And he said, and I couldn't believe this, well, he doesn't want to work because he doesn't like taking orders from people. Did you hear what I just said? He doesn't want to work because he doesn't like taking orders from people. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Excuse my language. But that is not what disability is for, okay? I'm sorry, but if you decide not to go to work and you're able-bodied, we're not sending you a check, okay? I'm sorry, okay? And these are the greedy people. These are the people who don't care about you. And it is so corrupt, okay? These systems, the unemployment system, the disability system, right? I've hired a lot of people in my life. Some of the best employees I've had, or actually most brilliant people around me, are people with real disabilities, okay? Like real disabilities. And it's people like that that are a disgrace. And so that's how bad, this is how reckless our government is. And it gives low-life sacks like that a check to sit home, right? Because we just have so much money to give away. But I want to get into my fourth story. So we went pretty hardcore into inflation and jobs and why jobs are being killed at such a high pace. Trump in his press conference said he is willing to seize Greenland and or the Panama Canal if he doesn't get what he wants. So he's talking military action. Now I'm asking everybody, is that what you voted for? Did anybody vote for Trump to take over Greenland or the Panama Canal? I mean, anybody? Can anybody answer that? I feel bad for the people of Greenland. They're going to get screwed if any of this is halfway real. No. Of course not. Nobody voted for Trump to take over Greenland, right? Now, Trump, everything with Trump is about tariffs, right? It's like the one thing he goes to. Oh, if I don't get what I want, I'm going to put tariffs. Trump is talking about putting tariffs on 5.9 million people. That's the country of Denmark, okay? Because Denmark is in control of Greenland, okay? 5.9 million people. Okay, let's put that into perspective. Long Island, New York. It's just a little 100-mile island by 20 miles. There's 8 million people on that island. Okay? So we're talking about attacking a country, Denmark, who has done nothing to anybody. Okay? What has Denmark done to anybody? Okay? Why do they deserve this kind of punishment? Okay? That we're willing to attack them or tariff them to death, right? And to me, it looks like the neocons are back in power. And they're looking, this is what this is. They are looking to expand the military-industrial complex by promoting fear and nonsense in the American people, right? I'm glad that MAGA voters are actually questioning this stuff, right? They're not just blindly going for it. A lot of them are, okay? They're full, like the Fox News wing, right? They're falling for, well, China and Russia could get a boat and float it over there, right? First off, there's nothing up there, okay? If they, yeah, well, Amy, Denmark is a beautiful place. All of the Scandinavian countries are gorgeous, right? The last thing they need is for us to destroy their country, right? It's the last thing that we need, right? Those are beautiful people. They're Christians, like, you know, they haven't, I can't even remember what Denmark has actually ever done to anybody in recent history. And people are falling for this nonsense. Now, you know, I explained the other night how, you know, Russia is always, you know, they've always got naval submarines, nuclear submarines within 100 miles of our shores, okay? So us taking over Greenland, that's not going to do anything, right? Because they could still come straight for America. And this isn't the 1940s, right? When oceans can protect you, right? Russia can hit us directly. So can China, right? They have the missiles and the power and the capability to literally put a missile right into Mar-a-Lago, okay, if they want it. Now, why don't they? Because we also have that kind of technology to do it to them. It's called mutual destruction, okay? So all of this fear-mongering, right? You have Mark Levine, or whatever the hell he's called on Fox, literally beating the war drum, okay, for us to go into Gaza, for us to go into Ukraine, for us to, you know, take over these countries, okay? This guy is an absolute warmonger. This guy is Bush, right? This is Bush. This is all Bush all over again. You know, I said I was very upset with Trump in his first term, okay? When he put a bunch of Bush people in his cabinet, I said, oh my God, this is not good, right? Because he voted against, I mean, he campaigned against Bush, right? He said, oh, we got to get rid of the Bushes, right? Well, then why bring his people into your cabinet, right? He's doing it again. Trump is bringing back in all the neocons, right? So with all the people, and look, Liz Cheney is a POS, right? We know what she is, right? She's garbage, right? But so is Mark Levine, right? So is Marco Rubio, right? He's another little fair-haired soy boy neocon. Marco Rubio is no different than the guy in Canada, Trudeau. They literally, the two of them should just get it on in a closet, right? Because they are literally built of the same cloth, right? And so, why is Trump doing this? Let's get to the real issue, because I know Amy's been asking that. I know a lot of people have been messaging me saying, Bobby, why is Trump doing this? And I'm going to tell you exactly why, okay? And it has nothing to do with anything I just said about Russian ships or China ships or any of that. The real issue is that Trump, Elon, and Vivek together, okay, the trifecta group, just got caught by MAGA voters for promoting foreign workers over American workers. Okay? And no matter how much they tried to get out of that entanglement, right? Vivek started it, basically calling us a bunch of idiots. Elon cleaned it up a little, but kept that, hey, we got to bring in a lot of this cheap labor. And then Trump tripled down, because Trump doesn't care anymore. Trump got elected. He don't need you, okay? Trump is about Trump's bottom line, okay? That's it. So is Elon and Vivek, all right? So they want cheap labor, right? But it's even more than that. It's also because inflation is not going anywhere anytime soon, okay? So that's right, Amy. The Three Musketeers are only about money. You nailed it. And look, I know a lot of people are going to probably shut me off for saying that. They're like, oh my God, you don't understand. Trump is for the people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Let's really look at what he said. Let's look at what he's done, okay? I gave him another chance. Every night, and I'll say it tonight, I hope Trump becomes the greatest president we've ever had. Okay? I hope I eat every last bad thing I've ever said about him. Okay? That's what I hope. Because I love my country. Okay? So I am not like Trump derangement syndrome or any of this. Right? But we have to call a spade when we see it. And promoting foreign workers as people are losing their jobs and as inflation is running rampant is complete BS. And that's right, Ken, you nailed it. Inflation is not going anywhere if people in policies responsible are still in charge. Look, you would think that after, just to educate everybody, Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, okay? Would anybody say that the Federal Reserve has done a good job in the past 8 years? No. So, did Trump say, oh, I'm going to get rid of this guy? No, he's keeping him, right? He's going to keep him, right? Why? Because Jerome Powell is a puppet, right? And he's going to do whatever Trump wants. And what Trump wants is more printing, more inflation, right? He's going to pay the debt with inflation. Yeah, Amy, J.D. Vance is in the witness protection program. I don't know where he is, Again, this guy, J.D. Vance, he's another fraud, right? He came off like as this guy who understands, poor people, and he's going to help all these poor people if you just elect them. And, he gave his sob story about his mother and how he grew up, and everybody fell for it. Boo, boo. Like, it's just sob bullshit, right? But nobody listened to him. This guy is a hedge fund guy, right? This guy literally invested in company. This is what he did for a living. He is like Mitt Romney, another rhino. He invested in American companies, okay? Sucked all the economic juice out of them by racking them up with debt and whatnot, put the money in his pocket, and destroyed the jobs. That's the guy we elect. Well, I didn't elect him. Whoever voted for him, okay? This guy literally, like a Mitt Romney, made money out of destroying American jobs. He's a hedge fund guy. This guy is bad, right? He doesn't give a damn about your family. He's full of it. As a matter of fact, anybody can go back to the debate with him and Tampon Walls, okay? And on 90% of the issues, they agreed. They agreed on 90% of, they kept agreeing every time. They just, very few things did they disagree about. But most of the debate between Vance and Tampon Walls, that's Harris's running mate. And I call him Tampon Walls because he's the idiot that thought it was a good idea to put tampons in boys' locker rooms, right? But again, the voters, they were suckered into this bet. And, you don't look at this guy and you fall for the, what Fox News or somebody, CNN is telling you. It's very easy to get swept up with these people. Let's see. Bobby, he was told Trump wants to get rid of him. I heard Powell refused to step down. That's what happened. He does not want to get rid of him. I heard it like 2-3 times. No. Okay, so what happened was Trump is the one that put Powell in office. So let's go that far back. Okay? Now, what happened was Trump did not say, I'm going to get rid of Powell. What happened was Powell was on an interview on CNBC and he was asked, if Trump wants to get rid of you, will you step down? Powell said no. But that's not Trump saying, hey, I'm going to get rid of Powell. That's not what happened. Powell was only asked the question. Trump has never come out and said, you know what, Powell, you destroyed 35% of our purchasing power. You're out, right? That's not what Trump did. So I just wanted to clear that up. And yeah, Powell says he's not going to leave, regardless. But that doesn't mean that he wouldn't leave if Trump pressured him to leave. Because politicians have a funny way of acting when you get a little bit of pressure on them. So that's that. Now, so really, all of that, yeah, yeah, Powell is too old as well. Well, Powell, now, the funny thing about Powell is, you're right, Amy, he's too old, he's got to go. But more importantly, he's old enough to remember when Nixon took us off the gold standard. He's also old enough to know, about sound money or capitalism or, how economies work, right? And so the fact that he is just basically lying to the American people, telling the American people how great inflation is doing when actually it's going in the wrong direction, okay? Just goes to show how much of a liar that this guy is. He's a complete liar. He's a fraud. And if you want to understand how inflation is going up, don't just look at your bill. Your bills, right? They've gone up more than 2.9%, right? They've definitely gone up more than 2. I don't care what state you live in, right? But commodity prices around the world are soaring, okay? Gold, all of them. Wheat, soy, all of it, right? So, that's an indicator. Also, the bond market is flashing red. Yields are flashing red, right? Everything is flashing. Stagflation, weak economy is coming. Even Trump admitted, hey, I'm not going to get prices under control anytime soon. Now he says prices are very hard to get down. And that they're not going down anytime soon, right? But when he campaigned a month ago or 2 months ago, oh, don't worry, we'll get him right down. We'll all be living our best life in no time soon. So now he's changed his tune because now he's getting the football, right? Now he's got to answer for the inflation that's coming. And this is what Trump's going to do. Trump is just going to say, when inflation goes up, it was the last guy, it was Biden, right? Just like Biden said it was Trump, Trump says it's Obama, right? This is what they do. But it's government and the Federal Reserve. Now, I want to go over tariffs a little bit because Trump's answer literally to everything foreign is a tariff, and, I want to go through that a little bit because so many people really don't understand what tariffs are and what they do. So first, we have to understand that Trump in his first term, okay, had put tariffs on China, okay, and Trump sold that to the American people and said, hey, China's ripping us off, and we need to put these tariffs in order to bring these jobs back, right? And so what happened? We put the tariffs, right? And this was basically geared towards farming, okay, like agriculture. And so what happened? We ended up paying the tax, right? When Trump puts a tariff on another country or Biden, what happens? We pay the tax, okay? So when they bring their stuff, because we can't tax them directly. So what we do is we say, hey, if you're going to bring a product into our country, right, the American people have to pay more for that product. So we pay the tax, okay? So when Trump ran on that, okay, this was basically for the farmers, right? This was a big thing for him. And he says, oh, I'm going to force China to buy all this agriculture and all this. Well, now we see China never bought the agriculture because they don't need it, right? And what did we do? We ended up giving the farmers hundreds of billions of dollars worth of welfare. Now, where did the welfare come from? It came from the tariffs, right, that we paid. So we paid more for those goods, right? Our farmers are making less product, right? So, and now they got to collect more welfare, right? So, what did Biden do? Biden sees all this new tax money coming in from the tariffs. He's a big taxer. So, he added more tariffs on top of Trump's, okay? So what happened? We're paying more for this stuff, okay? That's another reason why prices are going up, okay? And price and inflation are two separate things, right? Prices go up and down. Inflation is expansion of the money supply. And when you have both, that's when prices really take off. But it's important to understand that Trump threatening Denmark with 100% tariffs, and Panama, and Canada, and China, that they're not going to pay the tax, okay? We're going to pay those taxes. And when we can't afford those taxes, right? So let's say we put 100% tariff on Canadian milk, right? What if you can't afford that milk? Okay? What happens? Well, Canada goes in the world market and says, hey, who's the next highest bidder? And then they'll buy the milk. But what are we left? We're left without milk, right? So that's why free market works, right? That's why Milei in Argentina is great, right? Because he's a free market guy. He understands capitalism. He's a libertarian, and he's in charge of Argentina. Go look him up. That guy has turned that country around in less than 2 years. They had over 100% inflation. Inflation is gone, right? They're getting trade surpluses, right? Their economy has completely turned around, right? So that's a proof that libertarians would be wonderful for any country, right? What's wrong with allowing people to work? What's wrong with a free market? What's wrong with limited government, right? So, you shouldn't have to bully other countries to buy your product. Okay, so let's see here. Powell said Powell should have never lowered interest rates in the bank. He keeps dropping them, but yet mortgage rates keeps going higher. That doesn't make sense. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Amy, you're 100% right. First off, and I'll go into this pretty quickly. That's right. So, what's happened is Powell has lowered short-term rates, right? So that really helps people like Vivek and Elon to get really low rates, okay? Basically, they're getting free money, right? Because think about it. If they say the CPI is 2.9%, in reality, if we use Reagan's numbers, okay, Ronald Reagan's numbers, President Reagan, okay, you'd have to double that. Okay, so it's near 6%. So when Powell is giving short-term loans to people like Elon and Vivek, at, where are they, like 4.25% or something, right? They're actually getting the money for free, right? So they're going to get free money. Now, you, on the other hand, and me and everyone else, right? We do a lot of long-term rates, like mortgages, cars, credit card debt, right? So the banks, in order to make up that difference, okay, they got to charge more, right? Because when you have a 30-year loan fixed at 7%, right? If the money's being destroyed at nearly 3% per year, okay, how can you give out a loan at 7%? Okay? This is what happens when you unleash the inflation dragon from the bottle, the inflation genie, right? This is why I said 5 years ago, when all that COVID stuff happened, that we're going to have inflation for the next decade. And we're also going to see the greatest transfer of wealth take place, and we've seen it, okay? So, you're right, Amy. It doesn't make sense because you know it's wrong. You know it's theft. That's right, Amy. What did Biden do? Okay, let's turn it to Biden. Biden spent a lot of money. Like I said, Biden right now has the record for a single-term president on spending. Biden has done nothing but rev up the printers, borrow a bunch of money. He added more tariffs, which are a tax, right? He grew government. As a matter of fact, Amy, that's great that you said that. Most of the jobs created during the Biden administration are government jobs, right? That's the last thing we need, are more government jobs. So, what did Biden do? Biden created a lot of inflation. Biden created, a lot of damage that we are going to have to pay for the rest of our... Look, what's happened, we got to pay now for the rest of our lives. This is not going away. If a politician tells you, oh, we could balance the budget in a couple of years, okay? They're just straight up lying, okay? Because they can't, okay? And I said this a couple of episodes ago that, let's say Elon and Vivek were, even if they were wildly successful and were able to cut $1 trillion, which they're not going to get anything, they're not going to cut anything, but let's say they cut $1 trillion, okay? The interest on the national debt is already north of 1.2 trillion. So even if you cut $1 trillion, okay, you're still creating more debt from the interest payments. This is a spiral that is going to be almost impossible to get out of. No, Amy, no, I am definitely not going to blame dementia. He knows what he did. But I will say this. He is a sick man. And, and he's sick not for the reasons that everybody thinks. Not because of his dementia. He's sick because he's a racist, okay? I'm talking about Joe Biden, President Biden. He's sick because he's a racist. He's sick because he showered allegedly with his daughter, okay? He's sick because he prostitutes his son, okay? To sell out the American people. He's sick because he sold out our country, okay? You're right, Amy, he's sick. But it ain't for the reasons that Fox News or CNN tell you, right? No, he is sick. I agree with you. He's a douche. Yes, Julie. Yes, he's a douche. Now, is dementia setting in Trump right now? I watch Trump. He doesn't look very sharp. The things he's saying makes me scared. He's just starting his presidency. and he reminds me a lot of Biden when he started, I don't know. I hope everything's okay with him. Like I said, I hope Trump has the most successful presidency of my lifetime. But again, I'm going to call out the BS where I see it. And, I called out Greenland. I called out inflation. I called out the tariffs. I pretty much called it all out. How do we know he's not playing dementia to get away with his lies? Amy, we don't know. We don't know. It's like RFK, lecturing people what to eat, and then he takes a photo eating McDonald's. It's like, Amy, they're politicians, and it's like a lot of people say, Bobby, why don't you run? Bones, run. Because you got to lie to get in office. I'm not going to do it. If I could figure out a way to win without turning into one of these scumbags, I would do it. But they're all fake. And it is a show. And I'm glad that people are watching programs like mine, right? To wake up to the absolute BS that they're being fed on these channels. Okay? Trust me. Fox News, okay? They speak to a certain audience. And that audience want that needle, right? They want more heroin. Yeah, that's right, Ken. Let me answer that in a second. It's like heroin for the rhino wing of the party. Fox News are rhinos, okay? They're not conservatives. They are rhinos. CNN and MSNBC, they give you the other type of heroin, right? They give you methadone, right? They load you up with all sorts of cocktails of drugs, of leftist ideology, right? So if you're watching these programs constantly, right, you have two different worlds of people that, they see the world completely different. So when they talk on the internet, I'll tell you what, as a libertarian, watching some of these conversations, it's mind-blowing, right? That's a great question. So Newsmax, they have their audience. Their audience is 150% blowing Trump's boot. And I'm sorry, they are not objective. They will not say any of this stuff that I said. They won't. Because they will not dare to question their king. And their king is Trump. I'm sorry. Now, again, I'm not saying everything about Trump is bad. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if Newsmax wanted some credibility with a libertarian like myself, and don't get me wrong, Newsmax puts a lot of free market stuff on there, because I do check out Newsmax. There are a couple of shows on there that are okay, because they have different views on there, but there's no doubt where their agenda lies, and their agenda is the Trump agenda, and they will not go against him. That's right, Amy. They are caters to MAGA. Okay, so I want to get back to Kenny's 25th Amendment comment. So we've now exposed Newsmax. We've exposed CNN, MSNBC. I mean, they are complete, socialist. They are like totalitarians. They just want to rape and pillage you, and they hate the family. They are the worst. But, so we've exposed all that. But, Ken and everyone else, I believe the 25th Amendment should have been invoked when the FBI came out and said, hey, we cannot try Biden because he's unfit to stand trial. I came right out strong on my page, and I said, well, if he's unfit to stand trial for crimes that he committed, Because, see, that's the linchpin. Even his FBI kind of admitted that that Biden committed crimes, okay? They didn't say it, but that's the underlying tone. And they followed it by saying he's not fit to stand trial, right? So if he's not fit to stand trial, he shouldn't be fit for the presidency. The 25th Amendment should have been called, and, and now that would have given us Harris, okay? Now, is Harris any better than Biden? By no stretch of the imagination would have that been good for the country. First, it would have made Harris president, okay? But worse off, it would have given Harris an upper leg on Trump, because then it's not President Trump versus a failed vice president. It would have been President Trump versus President Harris, okay? That might have changed the dynamic of this election. Now, I believe the wind was at Trump's back. I believe people voted for Trump on the economy and on immigration, on not going to war, okay? These are the things that Trump was voted on, okay? Now, what he was voted on and what he's talking about now, what happened to this guy? Okay, where did election Trump go? Because the guy that's talking now, come on. Again, what if Trump won if he was talking about attacking Denmark? Be real, right? This is complete BS. Or what if Trump won had he admitted, hey, prices aren't coming down anytime soon, right? So what if Trump won had he said that he wants to import foreign workers, right? He wants to bring foreigners in to take your job, right? No, there's no way. He would have lost, right? Because you have to remember, they only won by a small margin, right? No sane American is going to vote for foreign workers to take their jobs, right? Nobody sane is going to say, hey, let's take over Denmark, right? Who's done nothing to us. So, had Trump brought this stuff up earlier, right? I believe the election very well could have went the other way. Maybe Chase Oliver would have got more votes, right? Again, this is why I give a libertarian perspective. This is why, Amy, we had better candidates. Chase Oliver, we had him. But, as much as I promoted him, and again, I'm going to really, if I see a bad libertarian, I'm going to call him out, right? But we had good libertarians running. We had good third-party candidates. Chase Oliver, his platform was to reduce the size of government. His platform was to go to sound money. His platform was to lower the powers of the executive branch, right? Right now, when a president takes the job, okay, they act like kings and queens, using executive orders, hiring czars. Chase Oliver wasn't going to hire one czar. He wasn't going to do any... As a matter of fact, he was going to do an executive order to end all executive orders, okay? So, Chase Oliver was the best candidate that we had. It's a shame that voter intimidation and corruption took place. He couldn't get on the debates. He couldn't get on the media. He was blacked out, and it's set up that way to prevent everybody from being informed and making a sane choice for voting. I just want to say, also, I'll leave you with this. Trump was talking about turning the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. And I just want to ask people, is that next to the Isles of Clorox? But anyway, I'm joking. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate everybody. I want to say thank you to everybody. You are beautiful people. Never stop thinking. Never give up your rights. Stand up for yourself. Don't let these bastards in Washington or in your local government kick you around. Let them know you're the boss and we're not going to take it anymore. We're on to them. Also, I want to give a shout out and pray for the people of California, okay? We have Americans suffering and we're talking about taking over Denmark. I mean, come on. Are we serious here? Like, let's take care of our American people. Let's take care of our own. Let's help our neighbor, right? I love you guys. God bless. Let's keep the Constitution. Keep what the founders wanted. I love you. Have a great night.